Greetings, film lovers, and welcome back to Clapboard Reviews. And I have to say, it is good to be back. Although I can't help but feel that something's a little different. Oh well. Happy Halloween, everyone! When I think of Halloween, I think of ghosts, witches, haunted houses, maniacs, and monsters. Frankenstein, Dracula, Wolfman, the Mummy, but none of them can hold a candle to the big man himself, Godzilla. He's been around for 60 years and has been the star of 29 films and one failed attempt in 1998. But instead of doing a movie review, I'm going to do an analysis on Godzilla's third film series, the Millennium series, which lasted from 1999 to 2004. Now, the reason why is because, with the exception of Tokyo SOS, every movie in the third series is meant to be a direct sequel to the 1954 movie, each with their own unique continuity. For the record, this is all just speculation from someone who just became a fan. If you want a review of all the Godzilla movies from a fan's perspective, you should check out James Rolfe's Godzilla-thon on Cinemassacre. In 1995, Toho killed off Godzilla with the intention of bringing him back in 2004 after TriStar was finished with their trilogy. That's right, there was going to be a trilogy of this.
That's a lot of fish.
But due to overwhelming negative response to the monster that is now trademarked as Zilla, Toho didn't want this movie to be the last one before the series was revived, so they pushed their plan forward 5 years. Cue the first movie in the series, Godzilla 2000. Contrary to the title, it was released in Japan in 1999 and is not a sequel to the Zilla movie. It's supposed to be a direct sequel to the one in 1954, but when you really think about it, they don't reference the original movie at all. They don't even reference any of the movies from the first or second series. This instead means that any of the movies could exist within the film's continuity. Personally, I don't like the idea of this being a direct sequel with nothing happening in between to the people of Japan. So I like to think that this Godzilla here is actually Godzilla Jr. from the previous series. In the end of the last movie, Godzilla vs. DESTOROYAH, Godzilla dies by nuclear meltdown since his heart is like a giant reactor, causing all the radiation in his body to be released around Tokyo. But suddenly the radiation levels start dropping to reveal that Junior, who was knocked out earlier, absorbed it all and transformed from this to this. Another thing to observe is that Junior looks noticeably green, and the Godzilla in 2000 and the next film was the first time the suit took on a green appearance when it's always been its usual charcoal black in previous and later films. This has been neither confirmed nor denied by Toho, so until we hear the official word, it'll always be a fan theory. Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla is one of my least favorites in the Millennium series. Instead of being killed off at the end of the original, Godzilla just destroys Tokyo and retreats back into the sea. Yeah, that's not going to cause some confusion. So this Godzilla is the original one from 1954 and has only appeared in 1966, 96, and 2000. In the movie, a government branch designed to fight Godzilla tests out a black hole generator that leaves a wormhole to another point in time open for a brief period. These creatures, called the Meganulon, were based on the insects also called the Meganulon from the movie Rodan, one of the few creatures that started out in a solo film before finding a niche in the Godzilla universe. And that's pretty much it for this movie. Let's move on to the next one. Godzilla, Mothra, and King Ghidorah, Giant Monsters All-Out Attack, on the other hand, I have no problem with being a direct sequel to the original because of how they set up the monster. In that film's continuity, Godzilla still died, but his bones are possessed by the restless spirits of those who died during the war. Why are they restless? Because some punk-ass kids kept knocking over shrines and drowning dogs because they didn't like the barking. Kids are dicks. It should be noted that no matter which movie from whichever film series, some of Toho's other movies can exist within the Godzilla universe, unless proven otherwise. It's especially true in this movie since they mention other monster sightings. They don't specify which ones, but due to the events of the film, we can probably rule out Frankenstein vs. Baragon. They even make a reference to the Roland Emmerich film, just listen.
The New York attack was Godzilla, right? That's what all the American experts claim, but our guys here have doubts.
Damn, and that's not the last jab they take at that movie, but we'll get to that later. Okay, buckle up everybody, because this is where things get really complex. Godzilla against Mechagodzilla is the only film in the series to get a sequel, so I'll also bring in Tokyo SOS to save time. Again, it's another sequel to the original movie, but here's where it gets interesting. Earlier I stated that some of Toho's other monsters exist within the Godzilla universe. Since Rodan is a regular occurring monster in the first and second series, its solo film exists within all three series. It makes sense since the movie came out in 1956, when Toho was experimenting with other kinds of monster movies while Godzilla was on ice before coming back in 1962. In Mechagodzilla, they actually use clips from Mothra and War of the Gargantuas, one of Toho's cult kaiju movies that was released on DVD along with Rodan by Classic Media. According to Toho, War of the Gargantuas is a sequel to another Toho monster movie, Frankenstein vs. Baragon, which I mentioned earlier. The explanation for their existence is that in an alternate ending when Frankenstein defeated Baragon, he gets into another fight, this time with a giant octopus, and gets dragged under the sea. It mentions that if a limb from a Frankenstein monster is severed, the monster will grow a new one, while the limb will still move and grow into a new monster. Wow, what are they doing in Japan? I guess that means that Frankenstein got ripped in half and the top half swam back to land since it was the only one that had eyes. Even the movie's Japanese title literally translates to Frankenstein's Monsters, Sanda against Ghidorah. So just to recap, the timeline goes Godzilla, Rodan for added measure, Mothra, Frankenstein vs. Baragon, War of the Gargantuas, Godzilla against Mechagodzilla, and Tokyo SOS. And that's it, right? Well, due to possible negative reaction from the fans, the monster in Tokyo SOS was switched from Anguirus to a Kamiba, a monster from yet another kaiju movie from Toho, Space Amoeba. Does that mean Space Amoeba and other kaiju movies that Toho made exist within the Godzilla universe? It's a bit of a stretch and requires a lot of research, but I guess in what's called the Kiryu saga, it exists in this timeline. And now we come to the final film in the series, aptly titled Godzilla Final Wars. Oh, Zordon's balls, where exactly does this fit in the Godzilla universe? Is this really a direct sequel to the original movie? It's not even a sequel to any of the movies from the second or third series. To be fair, it's more of a movie celebrating 50 years of monster battles, but they only use monsters from the first series. Not only that, but it's more of a remake of Destroy All Monsters. So does this mean this is actually a sequel to the entire first series? Then how does Zilla fit in? Yeah, I'm not kidding. Toho, after buying the rights from Sony for their Godzilla creation, renamed it Zilla, then put him in this movie to fight the original Godzilla, only for it to get its ass kicked in the shortest Godzilla fight in all 30 movies. "20 seconds!
I knew that tuna head wasn't up to much. Next.
Right, so moving on. If this would be a sequel to the entire first series, it would make sense because while Destroy All Monsters wasn't the last movie made, it was the last chronologically speaking, taking place in the year 1999. In that movie, King Ghidorah was killed off, and in this one, the monster known as Monster X transforms into Kaiser Ghidorah. Get it? It means king! Not only that, but keeping with the pattern of bringing in obscure monsters, Toho brings in Manda and the ship Gatango, both from the same movie Atragon. So that makes every Godzilla movie from the first one to Terror of Mechagodzilla, Rodan, Mothra, Atragon, Godzilla 1998, and Final Wars. But wait, if this was a sequel to Destroy All Monsters, then that means that Varan, Gorosaurus, and Baragon's brief appearance means that Varan the Unbelievable, King Kong Escapes, and Frankenstein vs. Baragon exists in this universe too, which would mean that its sequel War of the Gargantuas also exists. And since Varan makes a cameo in the form of stock footage during the opening credits, that also means that Ghidorah from Space Amoeba also exists in this film's universe. Damn! Well, despite the confusing continuity, it's a good movie. Not the best, just pure popcorn entertainment. Now let's see Godzilla kick Zilla's ass again. BAM! And since Godzilla has returned successfully this time, we can expect 2 more films from Legendary Pictures before Toho is ready to come back with their yearly releases. Now, I don't know about you, but I am excited for Godzilla 2. I just can't wait to see what King Ghidorah and Mothra look like. Oh, you know what? Even Mothra has her own continuity in the Godzilla series. Maybe some other time I'll talk about those. In the meantime, I hope you all have a happy Halloween, kids. If you get fruit or anything that isn't candy, you are well within your rights to either egg the house and or teepee the trees. And Godzilla? See you next time, everyone.
We're the purposeful, grimace, and a terrible sound.